Right.
Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the City Council, the September 1st City Council meeting for the City of Cannon Falls. Could we have roll call, please?
Ringgold.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
Gesme.
Here.
Lundell.
Here.
Mattson.
Here.
Montgomery.
Here.
Altoff.
Here. Would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bringle, second by Duncan to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Get right into the consent agenda. Consent agenda items may be adopted under one motion as presented or may be removed for discussion and resolution as council business. For you at home and in the audience, I'll go through the consent agenda. Item A, just and correct claims for the accounting period ending August 27th, 2020. Item B, minute meetings for the August 4th, 2020 City Council work session. Item C, minute meetings for the August 18th, 2020 City Council meeting. Item D, the second reading and adoption of Ordinance 369, establishing a Park Advisory Board. Item E, approve the Election CARES Act agreement with Goodhue County. Item F, 2021 flower basket watering. Item G, a cable coordinator position. Item H, Public Works Director position. Item I, Resolution 2503, approve a variance for 1208 West State Street. Item J, Resolution 2504, approve administrative subdivision / lot boundary line adjustment for 616 Minnesota Street East. And item K, Resolution 2505, approve an administration subdivision lot combination for 894 4th Street South. Is there anything the council would like to bring down? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Lundell and a second by Duncan to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll get right to council business. Item A, adopting Resolution 2502, approving a preliminary 2021 budget and levy and setting a public meeting date. Neil.
Yeah, it's that time of year again where we approve our preliminary budget for 2021. As you know, the preliminary budget has to be approved before September 30th of each year, and the budget can be the same as or lower than the final budget approved in December. A couple items that I'd like to talk about is to keep in mind when we're working with the preliminary budget, or as we had worked with the preliminary budget throughout the last 2-3 months, is a concern with the COVID-19 and the state of the economic state that Minnesota is in, and how it relates to our local government aid. Right now, we're certified. I got the certification for $700,000, 111, and I wouldn't count too heavily on that in 2021. They're already talking through the League of Minnesota Cities site and other places, southeast Minnesota, that is going to be looked at pretty heavily when the state legislators look into their Budget Balancing Act of 2021. And also I would imagine 2022. So this probably isn't going to go away for a while. So some of the highlights that we talked about through the work sessions, we had 2 work sessions, I believe, a finance committee meeting. During that time, the council wanted to keep the levy increase to a 0%, just because of the state of the economy that we're in. So as we were working through it, we kept that in mind. The department heads did an excellent job on working that 0% levy, and all of them came in with their budgets less than last year. So I appreciate what they had done. When I mean all of them, they all did. So it was a good job done by the department heads. I put a 1% increase in COLA, and it included the step increases for the staff that are typical as we work across the grade and the steps and the salaries. Health insurance, as we discussed, had a moderate increase of 6.6%. I call that moderate simply because of health insurance. A lot of times you'll see a double-digit increase. There was a reorganization of the finance department. The finance director position was eliminated, along with a half-time position, clerical position, and work was reallocated to the city clerk, the accounts payable HR, and the payroll clerk, or the public works, Ellen's position. So with that was a reduction of 1.5 full-time employees and over $100,000 in savings just in the administration department. During the work session, there was a motion and second and passed to reduce a full-time equivalent position in the police department. With that, along with, I believe, the chief had reduced a police officer with one that had been put on retired. She retired. So with that was $115,000 in the police department budget that was reduced. The janitorial budget was reduced to a part-time, which probably saved up about $30,000 in that position. The EDA position, as you recall, we contracted with CETA. We kept that in the works for a 3-day position, which originally was a 5-day position. And about 2 months ago, I believe now, we refinanced some bonds. There was a 2011 bond and 2013 bond. Overall, there was a $440,000 savings, which resulted in about a $60,000 annual savings. There was some bonds that are coming near their end. There were some reductions in the levies of a couple of them. So the overall bond reduction was $161,000. When we were talking public works, there was some concern that the mill and overlay budget that you guys had created for 2020 would go away. In retrospect, we actually were going to increase that from $130,000 to $150,000. And as I stated in my memo, I think every year council should look at that and see if they can find a way to increase that slightly every year, just to keep the wear and tear of your streets up and try to keep that and get it under control and keep it that way. With all that said, the fire department will be looking at a new fire truck in the next couple of years. Fire trucks do not come cheap. You know, you're going to be looking at probably $400,000 in that range, plus or minus. The last time you bought a fire truck, you did bond for it. I think in all reality, we're going to attempt to not bond for any type of a vehicle. whether, I know we just paid the last payment for a street sweeper this year. Fire truck is still being paid. So I think in reality, we're going to try to get that stuff paid for without bonding. Motor vehicle department, we took a part-time person in that department and increased it to a full-time position simply because it'll meet the demands of the customers that they have. This year it'll be kind of hard to determine how that weighs out, simply because they were closed down for a while and there was a lot of disruption in the department just because they didn't know if we were open. It was several months worth. So it'll be hard to determine if that is going to get paid through their rates or their charges through the state. So with all that said, and we talked about the LGA and the $700,000 and the reductions if there's going to be anything. There's a new $400,000 capital funding reserve that we can use, as I mentioned throughout all of the work sessions, that once this gets created, we need it as a reserve for 2021, just to see if there's going to be LGA reductions, and if there is, this will have to be where it comes from. Water and sewer rates, the second work session that we talked about. Once again, we're going to do a 0% increase. The sewer department's in the worst shape of the two. We still have a PFA loan that each year we write a check out of the sewer fund for $850,000. That comes out in August. We do redline during that time. So when there is concern and you hear that we don't like the high rates for the sewer and water, you can mention to your residents that we do go in the red in August due to this $850,000 bond payment that we have to make. Now, the good news is we don't have many of them left. So it was a 20-year bond. That was back when you had your new wastewater plant. Everybody's got to go through these types of things. Everybody's got these big bond payments when you get these upgrades on these wastewater plants. Every city goes through them. So we're about towards the end, but with that said, as you know, wastewater, everything costs a lot of money in wastewater, and it wears out quickly, with the corrosive environment that it's in. So I don't know if you get a lot of people asking for reductions after this bond payment is off. I would hesitate to do that simply because we're going to be needing to do some repairs. Wes came into this week with $60,000 worth of repairs. I told him, I says, we can't do that for a year or so. He says he can get by, but we've got to be extremely careful on what we do. So I would, when the time comes that that bond payment is no longer there, I think we're going to find a spot for it pretty quickly. So I guess that's about all I have in your resolution. There will be a public hearing is scheduled for December 1st for the final, and adoption of the final levy is December 15th. And as you know, a few years ago, the Truth in Taxation, this is a new way of notice, so we have to have that in our minutes, the date and times of the public hearing and the adoption.
I just want to say, echo what people have said before, this is a wonderful preliminary budget. Every single department head came through and did what they were asked. If this was a school paper, it would be an A, but to me it's not quite an A+. And the rest of the council members know why it wouldn't be that A+ to me. The only thing I disagree with is the loss of that clerical staff member in the police department. Everything else in this budget I think is wonderful. I just can't agree without reasoning to let go of somebody. I think everything else about this is fiscally conservative and serves our citizens well. It's a great budget.
Yeah, Matt kind of stole what I was going to say. I actually really love this budget, except for that one item. I think there are other options we could have done there, and we can still discuss there. So as this is, I actually can't support it wholeheartedly, but if we could add the approximately 80,000 to it, and we can discuss it going forward, and if we end up coming back to this, fine, but I think that position at least has earned a little more discussion than just being a line item cut out of a budget.
Well, I'm going to make it real simple. I'm going to make a motion to approve Resolution 2502.
And setting a public
And
hearing
set
date.
that public meeting?
Yes, everything that's in this
Okay.
resolution has the meeting date in there too.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to approve Resolution 2502, adopting the preliminary tax levy and budget collectible in 2021, and setting a public hearing meeting date of December 1st. There was a motion by Duncan and a second by Bringold. Is there any discussion on that?
I just want to say that this is not the funnest part of being on the city council. You're trying to think what everybody wants, and you're trying to be fiscally responsible, and you should think with your noggin and not your heart. And I'm kind of torn, but we're looking at a few unknowns, and I think everybody come in with a pretty good budget. I hate to see anybody lose their job, but I think we should move this forward.
Any other discussion? You've heard the motion. Could we have a roll call vote on that, please?
Ringgold,
Aye.
Duncan,
Aye.
Gesme,
Aye.
Lindell, no. Mattson,
Aye.
Montgomery, no. Alta,
No. The motion passes 4-2. Okay, moving on. Mill Street parking discussion.
probably a month ago or now or so, we had a resident in that wanted us, the council, you as a council, to discuss the Mill Street parking situation. I know that street's a little narrow, and when big vehicles, four-door trucks, long beds, they stick out in the middle of the drive lane. I know in the past there was parallel parking there. It's now diagonal. I don't know how the council feels. I did talk with the chief a little bit today on, is there any way that we could, as signage or as enforcement, enforce larger vehicles from parking there? I know we would need legal guidance on that, and I didn't want to talk to our legal counsel until, if that's something that you want to pursue. There's a couple items that we could do. We could go back to parallel parking instead of diagonal on one side. I know that's the way it was in the past. We could also, if we went to parallel, we could also add some parking stalls over on the west side of the winery and the old Lee Chevrolet garage, but I would like to put a caveat in there that hopefully someday that's going to be a redevelopment project and there will be a building sitting there. So whether that be tomorrow, or a year from now, 5 years from now, or 20 years from now, hopefully there's something sitting there, but I don't know when that's going to happen. So if them 6 to 8 stalls happen to be there at one point and gone the next day, we'll have to, we probably will hear about it. So there's three of your options that we could talk about. I know it's kind of for discussion and direction for staff to go if you want us to talk to legal and the chief about prohibiting larger vehicles, or you want to change it to parallel again. I guess that's a discussion we should have. But it was brought up, and we decided to put it on the agenda.
If we went to parallel, I looked at it today, it looks like we'd lose maybe five spots, kind of depending on how it's configured, so it's some, not a lot, so, but just throwing that out there.
I know from having the store across the street that a lot of people didn't think we ever went to Angle. They were still parking parallel. So I think Mill Street is awfully narrow for Angle on both sides, just.
Well, I know, I was on the council, and I think, Morris, you were too. The reason the council wanted to make diagonal on the south side was to create more parking spots, because parking is at a premium downtown.
Yep.
And so we elected to do that, but we have found over the years that it's getting pretty darn dangerous because it's so narrow. Those oversized trucks especially, someone's going to get killed there. So I think we have to go back to parallel. Yeah, we can put the extra stalls in there on the west side there of Mill Street, or west, I guess, southwest side. But I would like, too, for us to look into, if we could, on that one block, prohibit the oversized vehicles, if it can legally be done. I don't know. I know we've had signs there saying no oversized vehicles, but there's no teeth to it, so you
don't listen.
can't do anything.
That's the great part about the parallel parking. If they don't fit, they don't fit.
Right.
Right.
But, you know, the discussion, or the original concern that was brought up by the citizen, I completely agree with the safety. Very narrow, people backing out have very little sight lines, pedestrians walking back and forth. We're lucky that something bad hasn't happened yet. However, when we said that parking's at a premium, a friend texted me this weekend about how busy things were, and he said, go take a look at the parking lot on Hoffman right across from the fire hall. 2 cars. It's a parking lot that has about 20 spaces. It's a half a block walk up a hill. And I love how busy downtown is on the weekends, good for the businesses, but we got to realize that for a town of our size, we've got a great parking situation. It's just that people don't go
They don't know
to
about
the next option. They just, the city parking lot in the street, but there is a parking lot that's a half a block away, so I think we have a solution, we just need people to find it.
We even talked about one time that Merchants Bank owns the parking lot across from the library. They were up for selling it at one time, and that was an option. Well, that might be a place for bikes to park or something too, but
Exactly.
there's another option too.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing we've talked about too is having the diagonal going, like a one-way street with diagonal the same way down there, but I don't think that's gonna help much.
not
And then we
gonna
talked
help
about
like that.
parking on the bridge.
Yeah.
The curb's too high and you scrape your car door getting out of the car, so that didn't work either.
I do see, though, that I think people do take their time and
Consider where to park.
yeah, I mean, when you're coming out, I mean, I agree, I think it shouldn't be there, but Chief, how many accidents have we kind of had there, or,
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to run the numbers just to
Yeah.
see. Trying to remember how many years ago we made the switch.
Yeah, it's,
Maybe
7. That's
about
about right?
That's about right.
That sounds in that
I think
ballpark,
it's-
6 to 8.
I
Yeah,
think parallel parking.
I think we
is
probably
less.
had more near misses than actual accidents.
I agree there, yeah.
we've been for the.
Because if there's a big truck there,
Yeah,
and you're coming
you
down the
see
alley.
people actually stop back before the winery
Yeah.
and wait for a car to go through before
Yes.
they go through.
Yeah.
So it's had a traffic calming effect,
Yeah, Yeah.
in that way, but at the same time,
it's dangerous.
it visually just makes people nervous going through there when there's
Because
lots of
people are going
larger
both
vehicles on
ways.
both sides.
I mean, walking and
Right.
that. Like you said.
The
it's-
traffic also goes both ways.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
You know,
right,
ooh.
but,
Yeah. Be a whole different ballgame if that road was another 4 feet wider.
Well,
well,
yeah,
yeah,
It's not, so
move all the buildings.
I mean, it's
It's not, that's.
bad deal.
don't know how we,
Yeah, how did it end
this
up like
with,
that?
you said the direction to staff, I mean, does it make sense to say, hey, let's go back to parallel on that side, the south side, and look at painting those extra stalls if we
And
can?
another thing is, you know, where the old Lee Chevrolet building was, I
Right.
mean, the body shop.
Right.
There's like, what, 3 or 4 entrances there?
Oh, yeah, that's
Now, if we
confusing.
could
Sure, the apron.
change that to curb, you're going to get, some more better. Because
That's-
people, I don't think know, wait a minute now, do I go in here, or can I park here, can I?
But yeah, there's no building anymore, so. nothing's
Well, yeah, you
done.
gotta paint the stalls because everybody parks where they want to in that
Right.
place.
Yeah,
I mean, there we could pick up maybe 3 stalls, 4 stalls, I don't
with
know,
curb, you're right, right.
Yeah, that could be a little,
Well, is it a consensus maybe to go to parallel on the south end of Mill Street?
Absolutely.
Both sides.
yeah, but
South side of Mill Street?
yeah,
I
parallel.
think it'd be easier.
I'd also like to look with legal on
Yeah.
the oversized trucks on that
If
block
we can do
too.
signage,
Well, the way they got it's striped now, even the SUVs are sticking out over
Yeah.
that back line. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to
Exactly.
have an oversized
No,
pickup.
right.
You're still, your
if
butt's
they're, if
still.
they're the other, if it's parallel, I don't think there'll be an
And
issue.
that was part of the reason we held off on seeking, the legal opinion on it, was just we didn't want to incur that expense if council said, we're just going to go to parallel, or go back to parallel. If you want to consider both options, we certainly can check with legal. It's going to be trying to craft language that's not just enforceable,
Okay.
but not overly vague, so it becomes unconstitutional and
Well, then
Not a challenge.
maybe we should just stick with the parallel
Go to
and the
parallel
extra
and-
spots if we can
Yep.
put them in.
Well, it's kind of hard to enforce oversized trucks, I think.
But they'll either fit in the stall or they won't.
But with parallel, we buy ourselves another 4 or 5 feet probably.
Right.
And really that becomes, as I talked with the city administrator, it's, what would constitute exceeding the, white line? Is it, the furthest most point of the vehicle, which could be the trailer hitch today?
Right.
It's off tomorrow? It becomes very nuanced.
Yeah, it's tough.
Same thing with the parking, in front of the Lee Chevrolet. That might give you some space, but I definitely would encourage you to take out the drives then. Designate what's the entrance into that area, what's not, and then structure the curbing so that people aren't confused. Because the south end, right where you come across the bridge, we do have a fire hydrant. It's hard to see because it's set back. But, we'd have to make sure that we're not putting parking in front of that as we lay things out.
I say we just start with making it parallel again. And go from there. Makes sense.
Maybe make a motion to do that right now?
I will make that an official motion that we go back to parallel parking on the south side of Mill Street
Second.
on that one block.
The motion is made by Bringo and second by Gesme to go to parallel parking on the south side of Mill Street and leave the diagonal on the north side. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Get her done. Okay, CARES Act budget and funding. Is Laura out there? Yeah, there she is.
Now we can't hear her.
Can't hear you.
Talk louder. Unmute. Do you have signature?
No.
Try it now.
Nope. Oh, here he
Oh,
comes.
here he comes.
He's coming.
The guru has arrived.
The easy fix.
Oh, moving the microphone.
Try it now, Laura.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, well.
I don't know if this is gonna go very good.
It's gonna be great.
So, we have been working diligently on how we are going to spend the CARES dollars that the city received. Total, we received $310,000, $327. And, we were able to break it down into public health expenses, payroll expenses, compliance with public health measures that also include technology upgrades and teleport capabilities, economic support, and then another category. So with that, we were able to allocate about 1% of the budget will go toward some PPE and some hand sanitizer stations for City Hall. 9% will go toward COVID-related administration fees to help process the dollars. And 76% is actually going to be put toward the compliance with public health measures. So this would be the partitions, the class of the DMV. It is other technology and some upgrades to the conference, the city hall, which I think we've identified that maybe have some needs with some of our microphone issues on that, and then also updating our conference room. And then some phone systems, have upgrading the servers so that we can remotely work if we need to go back to a work from home situation. We'll be able to remotely access the files. And then we do have some money set aside for a small business grant to go toward cleaning supplies and PPE for our small businesses if this is approved. We have some dollars allocated to the school district and then also some for the senior center. So if there's any questions or discussion, again, all these expenses needed to be necessary due to the COVID pandemic. They are items that can go back to March 15th through November 15th is when the funds need to be used by, or they go back to the county. And they are not in the budget that was approved by March 27th of 2020. So any questions or discussion?
Laura, I think you mentioned, oh my gosh, that some of these upgrades were being considered and they were qualifying because when they did these upgrades, if there was a repair to be made, they would not have to send someone out. It could all be done
It'll
remotely.
turn off the mic.
Our tech support would be able to fix,
If that helps.
whether it were radios or it was issues or one of the items that's identified is some upgraded software for the water treatment facility where again it could be
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't just we're doing upgrades for the sake of upgrades.
We're doing it because we can. We're actually doing, I mean, it's a great opportunity, but we've obviously identified that, this, if something like this were to occur again, we want to make sure that we won't have to pivot as quickly to try to figure out how we're going to manage it. We would be prepared.
Okay, just want to clarify that.
Is there any other questions? We kind of went over this in the work session, so we we probably had all our questions answered. But anything else?
Nope.
Okay, then, how about a motion for the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, known as the CARES Act, for the city of Cannon Falls, for eligible identified expenditures to comply with public health compliance, economic relief, and coronavirus-related payroll.
So move.
Second.
Morris, was that you? Motion by Mattson, a second by Duncan to approve that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Laura. Okay, go in the reports.
Hey, Luke, you can take
I
that
ain't
off.
gonna take that out of there now. Kyle, you got something for us tonight?
Gotta press the button.
Green?
Now we had to turn it off.
Yep.
Yep.
During the open air fair last Thursday from 2:30 to 6:30 on 4th Street and Mill Street. We actually had a very nice crowd for the afternoon and quite a variety of vendors, from clothing to roasted nuts to masks. I mean, it was everything. Girl Scouts and senior citizens. And so for first time having that event, I was very pleased with the turnout. And so we'll be doing some kind of a survey to find out how people really liked it. And, do you do open air fair, or do you do Fun Fest, or do you do them both? And so just wanted to get that out there. We have canceled our September 10th Fun Fest. So that has been canceled, as well as after talking with Verndale Market, Cannon River Winery, Chillian Brewing Company, and the Cannon Arts Board, or Sylvan Valley Art Fair, there we go. Those four entities had canceled their events for that first weekend of October, and so Flavors of the Falls is canceled for 2020. And so it's not done and gone, it may be back in 2021. And so that's what we've got. We have not made any decision on Halloween. And so in September, I'm sure the board will look at that. And so if you have any input that you want it or don't want it, please contact the chamber. You can send an email to tourism@cannonfalls.org. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Okay, Park Board met on August 20th.
Yeah, we got some really good news. At our Park Board meeting, we approved the ability to get a quote on pool leak detection company. I just asked Neil about it today, and Neil, if you want to take away and deliver the good news?
Sure.
Sure. The leak detection company did come today. The process that they did provided some pretty good news. The skimmer baskets, which go all the way around the pool, all tested great. They held pressure up to 15 pounds, which is normal. The main drain pool had a very, very, very small leak on the left drain. Not to be concerned, according to the folks that did the testing, except in the manhole where the suction comes up and goes into the pump house building, there's a backflow valve that he stated probably is stuck open, which is cavitating the pump. He recommended just pulling that one out because that's old stuff that was in there since the pool was built. So city staff can all actually take that backflow valve out and put in a chunk of pipe and a couple of splices, and that'll be fixed. That we can do that in-house. As far as the splash pad, both pipes that go to the splash pad were broke. You could see there was a freeze cracks on all of them. The good news on that is he marked the exact locations. It's outside the building and only 1 foot down. So removal of some concrete in a small area and maybe a little bit of blacktop, and we'll get them fixed and the splash pad will be back up and running. The plan is to get this stuff completed yet this fall. I did talk to a couple of concrete restoration companies today, and I got a couple of them coming down, one this week and one next week, which will give us an idea on the concrete. Do some patching, get that figured out for this fall yet, and I know there will be some in the spring, but get the majority of it done this fall, and that way we got a small amount in the spring that can be taken care of, and we can get the pool painted in the spring. The pool should be pretty much up and running for next year.
I think that's really good news, especially after this summer dealing with the pandemic. I think that's the best case scenario. I think a lot of people were fearing that some of the pipes, the main pipes underneath the pool, that we'd have to dig the whole thing up, that might be where the cracks were, and that is not the news we got. This is a lot of stuff we can fix in-house, and so it's very good news. We should be excited about the pool. Other than that, we also just discussion about the tennis courts with the school. We're gonna probably continue that. That'll be an ongoing thing. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you. Joint Powers Board?
That August 25th meeting was canceled.
Cancel, okay. Okay, let's go around the horn here, departments. Let's see, where should we start? Sarah, you got anything?
Nope.
Jeff?
No.
Neil?
Just one item, I talked with Tony from the street department today, and he wanted me to pass on that the compost site's being taken advantage of again. We've had a load of sheetrock dumped and some other miscellaneous loads of stuff. We are scheduled to have a public works meeting on Thursday. We're going to talk about it and see if there's how we can figure out how we can prevent this stuff. You know, them guys did a great job this spring getting that thing back in good shape for the residents of this town, and it's unfortunate that it's always just a few people that don't care what they do, but they wreck it for everybody. So I think we're going to seriously have to look at maybe some cameras, but we'll talk about it at the Public Works Commission meeting on Thursday. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, let's go around the horn here. Derek, you got anything? Morris?
Nicole.
Oh, Nicole. Nicole, you there?
Feedback. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So, I can actually tell you what's going on at the library. Okay, so, some of you may know Cindy Zierden is retiring. Her last day is going to be on the 10th of September. And we are doing a drive-by to say goodbye in the parking lot that day. So, to look at the time, at 4:30. So if you want to drive through the parking lot, wave at her, maybe get a cookie. Thank her for all of her years. This is weird, I see myself twice. Thank her for all of her years of working at the library. That would be really, really nice. We are doing story times. Alexa has taken over the children's librarian position, and story times are on Facebook now, on Mondays and on Thursdays, and she's doing puppet story times.
to change things up. We are resuming all of our normal hours by appointment starting on September 8th. That means we will be open again on Saturdays from 10 to 2. So again, by appointment only and people wearing masks. I am starting this Friday doing Fit Fridays at Eastside Park. That's going to be low impact cardio, and it's a good opportunity for people to socialize and physically distance and sweat. So please, if you want to sweat, meet me at Eastside Park. And I'm going to be doing a program on Wednesday, September 23rd in the library parking lot. It is a falls safety class. I'm doing it with the ambulance department. And I have some gymnastics mats on loan so that I'll be able to demonstrate falling safely and how to get out safely. It depends on what the mats are. If they're really good quality, then I'll let people fall as well. And then we'll have ambulance there just in case. And Sulo said that he'll talk to people about what happens if you do fall. So we're doing this program because that week of September 21st through 26th is Fall Safety Week. So this is a good time to learn about falling and not falling and getting up. And then we have a few other programs. We've got Laura McKenzie. She does Celtic music. Right now, we don't know if she's going to be doing it in the parking lot or if it'll be a virtual program. That'll be on Tuesday, September 22nd at 6 p.m. And we have book club via Zoom on the 28th. That's going to be, what book? The Lager Queen of Minnesota. And that's it. Any questions?
No. Thank you, Nicole. Yep. Ooh, fade out. Laura, you got anything? Cedar?
I found out that a grant that I'd applied for on behalf of Cannon Falls through SMIF, the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation, they had a small towns grant that they were issuing for communities with populations up to 10,000. And the grants were for up to $10,000, and we received a $5,000 grant that will go toward a digital marketing campaign for our Cannon Roots brand for Cannon Falls that will help to drive some tourist traffic for our local foods, our local drinks, our recreation, the river. So anyway, so I'll be working on that. And then just a reminder to anyone watching about the Goodhue County CARES small business and nonprofit grant that's out there for up to $10,000. We're still taking applications. Currently, I've received 16 applications from Cannon Falls. Some have already received their checks. And there's been 48 total applications we've received through Goodhue County. So again, spread the word. If you're a business owner, apply. If you know someone, your neighbor or friend or family is, we really encourage you to apply. The window is still open. There's still dollars left. We have about $1.75 million to go towards small business and nonprofit relief. So I really encourage you. It's really not that hard, and I can walk you through it if you need help. So that's it.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go around. Morris, anything?
Nope.
Mary Jo?
Nope.
Matt? Bill?
No.
Steve?
Nope.
I've got nothing else either. Okay? That being said, we'll open public input. Citizens may speak to issues not on the agenda. Before speaking, please give your name and address for the record, and kindly limit your comment to 3 minutes. Public comments must be respectful, pertinent to city business, and adhere to applicable data privacy rules. The City Council will not take action on any issue raised by the public, but may choose to schedule consideration of the item on a future agenda.
Babe O'Gorman, Cannon Falls. Mill Street parking. It's been like 2.5 years ago when Adam Peters came here and complained about it. He also complained about the sidewalk being blocked off. The dance around enforcement is what I'm here to discuss. I find it amusing, to say the least. They've had the sidewalk blocked off. We have ordinances. It's clear. The law is on the books, yet it's been neglected to be enforced. It would be hard to enforce that law if you were employed by the winery, in which our police department, especially our police chief, is periodically and has been. For dancing around talking about an attorney to discuss how to enforce the law, well, that's right there in our books. You could have gone to the city parking lot this week and saw that they had barricades put up in your city parking lot. That's against the law. There are signs in the city parking lot on public property. That's against the law. And all you have to do is drive down here Highway 20 and it goes right to the police department. 2 days this weekend, all day, and one truck was parked on the bridge almost till dark, which we know is against the law to park on the bridge. So they're right in front of the PD. There are no parking signs up and down Highway 20, yet they're all parked there. So don't tell me about enforcement and the law and the lawyer. It's pretty simple. So why do we dance around the law? Either enforce it or get rid of the law. Or get me a list. I'd like to have a list of which laws we want to enforce and which one we want to ignore. And I'd really like to have a refined list about who do we not enforce the law for and who do we enforce it for. Thank you for your time.
Okay, public input, anybody else? Second call, public input. Third and final call, public input. Hearing none, we'll close the public input. Now I have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Duncan. Second by Bringold to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.